The species we're covering today has many common English names. Among them are African wild dog, painted dog, Cape hunting dog, African hunting dog, hyena dog, ornate wolf, and painted wolf. The most common used is African wild dog, but this name can often carry negative connotations that can be detrimental to their image as a species. When they gained this name, they were considered vermin by European colonizers anxious to recreate their European farming systems across Africa, highly exaggerating their threat to livestock. This led to a systematic program of extermination that was carried out through much of southern Africa. Many, including myself, argue the name wild dog denigrated these guys into a dangerous feral animal, a mundane creature of no interest to anybody and certainly not worth conserving. To this we must consider, what even is a name? And what impact does it have when envisioning something? With this in mind, and with past examples to draw from, it is perhaps time for a long overdue rebrand that actually encapsulates what a stunning creature it is and appreciate the intricate social structure of their packs. On today's episode of Endangered Inhabitants, we'll be running into the world of Lycaon pictus, the African painted wolf. African painted wolves are found in the mammalian order of Carnivora, along with many other critters covered in this series. The first true carnivorans appeared in the Middle Eocene around 42 million years ago. As previously discussed, Carnivora can be divided into two suborders that both appeared quickly after the first carnivorans. The Feliformia, which contains the cats, civets, hyenas, mongoose, and their close relatives, and the Caeniformia, which contains the dogs, raccoons, bears, mustelids, skunks, pinnipeds, and their close relatives. Dogs themselves fall into the family Caenidae. The first canids appeared in the late Eocene, around 38 million years ago, soon after the caeniform-feliform split. Caenidae itself soon split into three subfamilies, also during various points during the Eocene: the Hesperocyinae, the Borophaginae, and the Caninae. With time, members of each subfamily showed an increase in size, and some exhibited more specialized hypercarnivorous diets, making them more prone to extinction in an ever-changing world. This eventually left Caninae as the last subfamily standing, with Hesperocyinae going extinct in the Middle Miocene, while Borophaginae survived into the Pliocene until about 2.5 million years ago. Caninae can further be divided into three extant tribes: the Urocyanini, containing the gray foxes, the Vulpini, containing the true foxes, and the Canini, containing all remaining dogs. The Canini can be divided into two subtribes: the Cerdocyanina, containing a wide variety of South American canids, and the Canina, containing what we traditionally know as the dogs. African painted wolves are the only extant members of the genus Lycaon, being some of the more basal members of Canina, along with the dole, the only extant member of the genus Cuon. African painted wolves can be divided into 5 subspecies or populations as of 2005. The Cape painted wolf, the East African painted wolf, the Somali painted wolf, the Chadian painted wolf, and the West African painted wolf. While the species itself is genetically diverse, these subspecies are not universally accepted, with more recent studies showing extensive intermixing between East African and Cape painted wolves in the past. The only population that may possess a unique haplotype, the group of alleles inherited from a single parent, is the West African population. This general mayhem calls for serious reevaluation because even I'm confused. These are some pretty sizable puppies, being the 5th largest wild canids. Adults stand anywhere between 60 to 75 centimeters or 24 to 30 inches at the shoulder, while measuring between 71 to 112 centimeters or 28 to 44 inches in length, not including the tail. They typically have a weight range of between 18 to 36 kilograms, or 40 to 79 pounds. These wolves have a lifespan of about 10 to 12 years in the wild, but can live up to 17 years in captivity. African painted wolves are long-limbed and slender, being built for speed and endurance. They have broad, flat heads, narrow skulls, and relatively short muzzles compared to other canids, which creates some strong jaws able to crush bone. Those long limbs end in paws with only 4 beans on each foot, unlike most canids which have 5, with the pads of the middle digits being connected by a dermal webbing thought to enhance speed and maneuverability. They also lack dew claws, another common feature in other species of canid. And oh, what giant ears they have! All the better to hear you with, being able to swivel to better detect sounds from different directions. Those satellite dishes on their head also help in thermoregulation, helping them dissipate and release heat. They also have excellent peepers! Their forward-facing eyes are a common feature among predatory animals, and primates, but there are always exceptions to rules, allowing them to judge distances while chasing prey. The most striking feature these wolves possess on first glance, setting them apart from other canids, is their colorful patchy coat, which consists entirely of stiff bristle hairs with no underfur. Color variation is extreme, maybe serving as visual identification between pack members. While there is some geographic variation seen in terms of coat color, the coat can be shades of black, white, yellow, and brown. They also sport a bushy tail with a white tip, which possibly serves as a flag to keep the pack in contact while hunting. As the name suggests, African painted wolves once ranged throughout sub-Saharan Africa, but now only inhabit a fraction of their former range. They are extant in Botswana, Zambia, Tanzania, Kenya, South Africa, Angola, Chad, Ethiopia, Malawi, Mozambique, Namibia, South Sudan, Sudan, Zimbabwe, Benin, Burkina Faso, the Central African Republic, Niger, and Senegal. Their presence is both uncertain in both Algeria and Guinea. They are most likely extinct in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Côte d'Ivoire, or the Ivory Coast, Guinea-Bissau, Mali, Nigeria, Togo, and Uganda, while being confirmed extinct in Burundi, Cameroon, Egypt, Eritrea, Eswatini, Gabon, Gambia, Ghana, Mauritania, Rwanda, and Sierra Leone. African painted wolves are generalist predators, being found in a range of habitats including shortgrass plains, semi-desert, bushy savannas, and upland forest. These wolves seem to reach their highest densities in thicker bush rather than being an open plain species as was previously thought. Their current range is primarily limited by human activities and prey availability rather than the loss of a specific habitat type, as with many species. If it wasn't already obvious, these wolves are opportunistic hypercarnivores, normally specializing in common medium-sized antelope. Species-wide studies show that, by preference, where available, 5 species were most regularly selected: the greater kudu, Thompson's gazelle, impala, Cape bushbuck, and blue wildebeest. While these species are preferred, these wolves can target many other species such as reedbucks, cobs, lechwe, springbok, warthogs, common deer, dik-diks, don't laugh, hares, spring hares, ground-dwelling birds, and cane rats. Certain larger packs can hunt bigger prey, including plain zebra, common eland, and African buffalo calves. While a large pack has been seen hunting and killing an adult healthy buffalo, this is thought to be extremely rare. African painted wolves primarily hunt using a collaborative endurance pursuit strategy, where the pack works together to chase down prey until it becomes exhausted. These wolves do not get tired, being able to maintain speeds of 66 kilometers or 41 miles per hour for 10 to 60 minutes. They just keep running. The average chase covers around 2 kilometers or 1.2 miles, during which the prey animal, if large, is repeatedly bitten on the legs, belly, and caboose until it stops running, while smaller prey is simply pulled down and torn apart. Of course, hunting strategy can be adjusted to the prey of the day. Hunting success varies with prey type, vegetation cover, and pack size, but African painted wolves tend to be extremely successful in killing, like prime King Von. Often more than 60% of their chases end in a kill, sometimes up to 90%. To put that into perspective for any troglodytes that don't understand hunting success rates, let's compare. Lions have a hunting success rate of around 30%. Spotted hyenas are around 75%, leopards are around 14 to 38%, and cheetahs are around 40 to 50%. This makes these dogs on Duracell some of the most efficient predators Africa has to offer. African painted wolves are diurnal, being most active during the day, with hunts occurring mostly at dawn and dusk. Each pack maintains its own territory that can range from 150 kilometers squared or 58 miles squared to over 4,000 kilometers squared or 1,544 miles squared. The size of the territory is mainly determined by the amount of prey available and the number of wolves in the pack. They will aggressively defend their territory against other packs, marking their territory with urine and feces, just like me. While I do mention this, African painted wolf densities vary widely but are generally low. Packs are always on the move, never staying in the same place for long. These wolves can travel up to 50 kilometers or 30 miles per day. They will often move their young to new dens to avoid predators and avoid infestations of parasites like fleas. These wolves have extremely strong social bonds, with solitary living and hunting being extremely rare. They typically live in packs of 2 to 43 adults and any yearling pups. While the males and females of the pack have separate dominance hierarchies normally being determined by age, the dominant pair typically monopolizes breeding. When they come of age, it is actually the females that disperse, while the males stay with their natal pack. These females then join other packs and evict some of the resident females related to other pack members, which prevents inbreeding and allows the evicted individuals to find new packs of their own and breed. While they are arguably the most social canids, these fellas lack the elaborate facial expressions and body language found in gray wolves, likely because of the painted wolves' less hierarchical social structure. While elaborate facial expressions are important for gray wolves in re-establishing bonds between individuals after long periods of separation, they are not necessary to African painted wolves, which normally remain together for much longer periods of time. Even if they lack the elaborate facial expressions and body language found in other canids, they make up for it by having one of the widest vocal repertoires of any canid, making sounds including twittering, whining, yelping, squealing, whispering, barking, growling, gurgling, rumbling, moaning, and hooing. Their most fascinating social behavior, however, happens when the pack is trying to determine whether to move. The group will gather in a sort of rally where members engage in a bout of sneezing to see how many members are ready. The more sneezes or audible rapid nasal exhalations, the more likely the pack would set out. The success of the vote can often depend on the dominant pair's role in initiating the rally, with rallies initiated by a dominant individual that receive at least 3 sneezes from other pack members always succeeding. Whereas, rallies initiated by lower-ranking individuals required a minimum of 10 sneezes to achieve the same level of success. But it still isn't known if the sneezing that happens is voluntary or something that just happens, like a sneeze, so we can't say if it's a true vote. Once the dominant pair do the nasty, gestation lasts 69 nights to 73 days. The female produces many more pups than other canids. Litters contain around 6 to 16 pups with an average of 10. After giving birth, the mother stays close to the pups in the den while the rest of the pack hunts, while she drives away other pack members that approach the pups until the pups can leave the den at 3 to 4 weeks of age. The entire pack will pitch in when caring for the pups, with adults often regurgitating meat from their latest kill for both the young and any other members of the pack unable to hunt, like the sick, injured, or elderly. Once the pups reach between 8 to 10 weeks of age, the pack will abandon the den and the young will follow the adults during hunts. The youngest pack members are permitted to eat first at kills, a privilege that ends at about a year old. African painted wolves are apex predators with no predators themselves. What they do have is many competitors where they live. Lions are chief among them, dominating painted wolves and being a major source of mortality for both adults and pups. Painted wolf population densities are usually much lower in areas with lots of lions, and vice versa. Spotted hyenas are also important kleptoparasites, where animals deliberately take food from another, with hyena packs following the wolves to appropriate their kills. If left unprotected, pups can be vulnerable to large eagles like the Marshall eagle when they leave the den. African painted wolves are listed as endangered on the IUCN Red List. The most recent estimates put the population at 6,600 adults, with only 1,409 mature individuals with a declining population trend. But this species was last assessed back in 2012, so this could be incredibly outdated and should be taken with a grain of salt. It should be noted that because of the painted wolf's habit of being obligate cooperative breeders, only the alpha male and female of each pack, or, quote unquote, individuals known, estimated, or inferred to be capable of reproduction, are considered to be mature individuals in this case. The biggest threat that African painted wolves face is habitat fragmentation. With the increase in contact with people and domestic animals, so increases the rate of human-wildlife conflict and transmission of infectious diseases. This habitat fragmentation can include agricultural expansion, housing, commercial areas, infrastructure, and logging, among others. It is likely that these wolves won't be able to coexist with increasing human populations outside of protected areas unless land use plans and other conservation actions are implemented. Wolf ranging behavior also leads to very substantial edge effect, even in large reserves. Simple geometry dictates that a reserve of 5,000 kilometers squared contains no more than 40 kilometers from its border, a distance well within a range of distances traveled by a pack of wolves in their usual ranging behavior. Thus, from an African painted wolf's perspective, a range of this size, which is fairly large by most standards, would be all edge. As human populations rise around reserve borders, the risk of African painted wolves venturing outside are also likely to increase. Under these conditions, only the very largest unfenced reserves will be able to provide any level of protection for African painted wolves. Human-wildlife conflict and the subsequent persecution of painted wolves brought on by habitat fragmentation pose additional challenges. When food is scarce, which can also be connected to human activity, painted wolves will then sometimes turn to livestock. Farmers who rely on livestock for their livelihood may think they need to take extreme measures to protect their animals. Wolves are also vulnerable to getting stuck in trip snares meant for other animals or drinking poisoned water. Diseases are also becoming a more prevalent threat as these wolves come into contact with humans and their pets more and more. The most dangerous disease that painted wolves face would be rabies, but canine distemper, canine parvovirus, and bovine tuberculosis are also areas of concern. These diseases are often introduced into populations of painted wolves through contact with unvaccinated domestic dogs. Diseases then spread through a local population like wildfire with how social these wolves are, leading to anything from large dips in the population to entire local extinctions if action isn't taken. Climate change will also bring new challenges in the future. While the temperatures are generally already high where painted wolves live, an increase in the ambient temperature of sub-Saharan Africa is predicted to occur unless drastic climate action is taken, which is very unlikely. As painted wolves are endurance hunters that need to chase their prey into exhaustion, days that are hotter for longer make the dogs change their behavior, waiting to hunt in cooler conditions of the night. This itself will put them into even more direct competition with other predators like lions and spotted hyenas, which are most active at night, which may have made these wolves become diurnal hunters in the first place. If the wolves try to push themselves into hunting during these hotter days, they risk heat stroke while trying to chase down their prey. African painted wolves have an extremely important role as Africa's most successful predator, helping to keep their ecosystems balanced by controlling the populations of the herbivores they hunt. This helps to prevent any overgrazing, helping to keep vegetation healthy. This hunting also helps to improve prey species, eliminating the sick and weak. We have to make up for lost time after centuries of persecution and do our best to make sure these majestic hunters continue to roam the savannah for generations to come. I would like to thank each and every one of you for watching. I hope you enjoyed and learned something new. Make sure to smash that like button, subscribe, and leave a comment with any thoughts or queries down below if you enjoyed this garbage. This is by far my longest video to date, so I hope you still enjoy it, even if I'm a bit wordy at times. I hope to continue to ramp up the amount of videos released as the year progresses, as I settle into my new routine with my job and everything. I think it's also important to mention that I am not a formal expert about animals yet, just someone who cares too much to not do anything. If I say anything incorrect, please do not hesitate to leave a comment with what and where I fumbled, as I want to make these videos as accurate as possible. I always try and use reputable sources when making these videos, but rarely use actual scientific papers myself while researching for videos, as I find it hard to find the right ones. I just want to be held accountable if I say something wrong. Accuracy is way more important than any dumb joke I make. I had a lot of fun writing and recording this. It just sucks having to edit more than 20 minutes of content, but I do it for the creatures. They need our help now more than ever. Everyone have a great day. Peace.